Hello and welcome to the first scenario video. In each of these video lessons, I will go through a time when I experienced a harassment, a real story, and then I'll break down how to navigate it using the resilience mindset and the reporting framework that you just heard about. This first scenario includes examples of a time when people were making derogatory or sexist remarks about me, which is classified as harassment, or specifically gender discrimination under Title IX. And since I was a graduate student at a university in the United States, Title IX applied to me at this time. One day in graduate school, when I was running an experiment in my lab, one of my colleagues came over with a box of cotton balls and sat them on my work desk. On the side, it was labeled tampons. And he commented, "Jill, I think you left these in the other lab." Now, at the time, I didn't realize this was harassment, and I didn't report the harassment I faced. I was not comfortable reporting, and I didn't know how to. I thought that by reporting, my all-male lab mates would not like me, and that would be bad for my career. I wanted to be liked, and I thought if they liked me, they would stop harassing me. If, however, the resilience mindset was instilled within me, I would have done something. Here's what I would have done in hindsight. After this incident, I felt uncomfortable and ostracized and bombarded while I was working, and it took me by surprise. I felt like my colleagues would just keep making these comments, which are gender discrimination and are illegal, especially because they had made these comments in the past and would continue to make comments and jokes about me being a woman in the future. In fact, I felt like the only times they talked to me was to tell me I was a woman in some way rather than about our research or our work. I felt off about the interaction. This feeling of discomfort is the trigger to then embody the resilience mindset. And by using the resilience mindset, you can feel empowered when proceeding to move forward and reach justice. This feeling of discomfort is the trigger to then use the resilience mindset to feel empowered when proceeding to address the situation and reach justice. Once I feel uncomfortable in my work environment, then I remember number 1 of the resilience mindset. To do my best work, I must feel valued, appreciated, and safe in my work environment. I felt none of these things, which meant my work may suffer. It was in my and my employer, in this case my research advisor's, best interest to proceed in a way to resolve this issue. I needed to feel comfortable in my work environment. Then number 2 comes into play. I have a right to feel safe and comfortable in my work environment. The law against gender discrimination is there for a reason. It's there to protect me in instances like this when I'm harassed. Number 3 of the resilience mindset. I only have control over my own actions, not other people's actions. This means that I can't think that, oh, maybe they won't harass me another time. I have no control whether that harasser harasses me or not. I only have control over whether I make a report or discuss this issue with my supervisor. I cannot trust that this harasser will never harass me again, even if I speak up for myself in the moment. I cannot control what the harasser does, whether I report or not. Therefore, it is best that I report so that at least there's a record there in case this harasser decides to harass me again. The issue could even get worse, and it's great to get documentation in the beginning when it first starts. And number 4, everything is a practice. So as I'm proceeding to report the harassment, I shouldn't focus on reporting everything perfectly. I just need to get it done. I need to practice reporting harassment. There is no one right way to report harassment. And then that brings me to number 5. The situation has not been resolved until I feel safe in my work or school environment, or until I feel like I've reached justice. So how I report should reflect the outcome I want in order to feel safe and comfortable in my work or school place environment once again. I felt uncomfortable and like my work may suffer because my colleagues were harassing me. I wanted to work toward a PhD, and this harasser could threaten my productivity and my PhD. Step 2, applying the reporting framework. Now, because I'm going to report this harassment, I want to follow the reporting framework. This will help me determine how to navigate this specific situation. I'll discuss what the situation is for each variable of the reporting framework. Number 1, My relationship with the harasser is actually open and friendly in this scenario. We do get along well, and I feel like he would have been receptive to me confronting him. I also feel comfortable confronting him. I don't feel unsafe around him even after this harassment. Number 2, there is currently no evidence of this harassment. I would need to make sure that if I did meet up with him and confront him one-on-one, that I would have documentation of that meeting, like meeting notes that I would take and then email him after our one-on-one meeting. In this situation, it may be best for me to meet with him and my research advisor to discuss the issue, especially since my research advisor is the person whom I would report harassment to. Number 3, my relationship with the person who I report harassment to, who is my research advisor, actually has some tension and isn't all that comfortable. I wasn't sure whether I could trust him in resolving the issue or if he would take my report seriously. This would cause me to hesitate if I were to go report harassment to him, since he may just ignore my report or dismiss me as being problematic. This made it essential that I would need to take documentation if I were to meet with my research advisor. And I may even want to get another party involved, like the Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity, just in case he didn't take this report seriously and didn't act to resolve the issue. Number 4, my emotional reaction to this harassment wasn't too intense. I did feel uncomfortable, but I did feel well enough that I could go report it if I choose to. I would have felt comfortable going and reporting soon after the incident occurred. I would not have to wait for myself to calm down or cope with any trauma from the incident. While I felt frustrated and uncomfortable, the emotions didn't overcome me and render me incapable of functioning. Number 5, my university legislation, specifically Title IX, had specific language that identified this to be sexist and derogatory remarks, which is a form of gender discrimination and protected under the law. This is considered a type of harassment. Examples of gender discrimination include gender-based bullying, derogatory or sexist remarks, and gender discrimination in any activity. When it comes to these subtle remarks, it can be hard to tell whether they are harassment or not. This is why it is so important to read the fine print of the legislation that applies to you. I had no idea that these jokes were harassment until I read that fine print and had that light bulb moment. Because he used the word tampons, it was clear his joke was about women. It was clear that he was targeting me because I was female. And sex is a protected category in the law. What he said was indeed illegal in my work environment. Based on the 5 variables, I have a few options on how to proceed. In the moment he harassed me, if I was familiar with the resilience mindset and Title IX and what the laws exactly were, I would have said word for word, "Do you realize what you just said falls under gender discrimination and is illegal under Title IX? I will have to file a report that you harassed me." I then could have met with him one-on-one and discussed how he harassed me and that it was illegal to say the things that he said to me. And I was able to meet with him one-on-one because I felt comfortable with him. I feel like maybe he would be receptive to me discussing this matter with him, and based on learning about what gender discrimination is, he can maybe learn from the experience and not harass me again. After our meeting, I would document what happened when I talked to him and what the incident was in my records, where I keep all the documentation of these different instances of harassment. And then I would follow up with an email to him, further documentation on what we discussed in our meeting and our chosen resolution. This email would be a record, a documentation of the harassment, and served to be used in case he harassed me again. The email to the harasser would include the following. First would be how he harassed me, where it happened, the date and time, who was involved. The second part of the email, I would go into how I addressed it. I would talk about how we met one-on-one and discussed it and this was said. And the third part of the email, I would talk about a plan on how we're moving forward and how we're resolving the issue. That he would refrain from continuing to do gender harassment, and if he did continue, I would file a formal report. Then, after I sent the email to him, I would have him reply with an email saying that he agrees with this resolution, so that I have documented proof that this conversation took place and this was the resolution for it. I would also send an email to my advisor, the person to whom I would file a report. I would tell him what happened in the incident of harassment, and then I would list the actions I took. That I met one-on-one with him and we discussed it and resolved the issue. Well, hopefully resolve the issue. In this email to my advisor, I would also let him know that this harassment could affect my productivity at work. This is key. When you report harassment to an authority in your workplace or school, you want to tie this to something that they care about. In this case, my advisor cares about my productivity in lab, and so I would want to say, this harassment is affecting my productivity. Then it becomes a problem not just for me, but also for my advisor, and so it forces my advisor into a position where he needs to act. It is in his best interest that I feel safe and comfortable in my work environment. In the email to my advisor, I would also say the resolution I need to feel safe and comfortable in my work environment. In this situation, what I would need is for this person to stop harassing me in the future. Once I report this issue to my advisor, the case is out of my hands, really. I have reported the incident and I have said what I need to feel safe and comfortable in my work environment. At this point, the rest is in the hands of the system of the university. At this particular university, I know that if I report an incident of harassment to the Office of Equal Opportunity and Diversity, that the harasser has to take additional trainings to learn about sexual harassment. Honestly, to this day, I struggle with calling out the harasser in the moment when the harassment is happening. Usually I'm taken back and surprised and just don't know how to respond in the moment as it's happening. In the case that I wouldn't be able to say that smart retort about Title IX, that would still be okay. If in the moment I did, like I did in real life, laugh about the remark in person and then later on felt unsafe or uncomfortable, then I would skip the part about meeting with him one-on-one and just go straight to filing a report with my advisor. And because I didn't feel so comfortable with my advisor in knowing whether he would address the situation or not, I would make sure that I emailed my advisor about it so that there was a documentation that I did reach out to address the situation. It's important for me to report, for myself, for my health, for my productivity, but also for my advisor because he cares about my productivity too. It would be out of my control if my harasser responded negatively to me reporting the harassment. So I would not try to accommodate or prioritize his comfort over my own. Remember number 2 and number 3 from the resilience mindset. I only have control over my own actions and I have a right to feel safe and comfortable in my work environment. Would I even want to be friends with someone who harasses me and then I report it and they get upset that I reported them? Would I even want that person as a friend? No, I don't need toxic people as friends. There are plenty of people in this world, and you want to surround yourself with the most supportive and loving people. People who want the best for you. Life is too short to keep connections with people who abuse and harass you.